Why are you here? The chances are that you have one particular relationship right now, or maybe a couple, that are just not working. Every time you open your mouth and you try to say what you want, the other person takes offense and reacts. Or every time the other person does something to try and help you, and you know logically that they mean well and they're trying their best, but it just sparks off this emotional reaction. Now that reaction might result in you shouting and ranting, screaming, slamming doors, throwing things. It might result in you breaking down into floods of tears. It might result in you just withdrawing and not talking. And it just all being held inside and festering and going around in your head, and you're left with a head that feels really cloudy and you feel sick to the stomach. The good news is I've been there, and many of my clients have as well. And I want to share with you today 3 steps that can help you to unravel what it is that's happening and can help you set you up for success. Number 1 is clarity. Number 2 is confidence. And number 3 is change. So when it comes to personal relationships, often what I find is happening is people don't really have clarity of what they want from the relationship. They haven't really defined what does good look like. And as an age group of sort of someone between 40 and 50, you've probably got children that are anything from 8 to 20 something. And your parents worked from a parenting model of do as I say, not as I do. And stiff upper lip, just don't moan, don't whinge, and we can't afford. That's very much, the budget. They were loving, caring, supportive, but they had just come out of the war. They were having to really watch things, and they have a real conditioning. And we will, whether you want to know it or not, I've got some of that conditioning going on. And then you've got this whole positive parenting, never smack them, never raise your voice, don't ever swear in front of them. And I absolutely agree with them. And I know I look like I'm being really sarcastic, but the reality is my mum had smacked me. My mum had shouted at me. My mum didn't swear at me, but I had those as models, and I could know logically I don't want to be like that. And then when things went wrong, when I was scared, when I was fearful, I thought I was failing, that kind of automatic reaction would happen. I'd scream, shout, slam doors, and I got myself in a terrible state. And I know that my divorce was probably the hardest thing that I had to overcome. I felt such a failure because I'd been raised in a family where at the time, I don't think anyone out of my mum's brothers and sisters, and she had 7, there was nobody in our family that was divorced, and I was going to be like the first. Sadly, others did follow after me, but when I remember feeling like I was such a failure because my marriage had failed. And then when Mark and I got together, the next thing I notice is that the same patterns are happening with my daughter. Now, to add to that insult to injury, I've already been running the company for about 4 years. I'm a mums and daughter relationship coach, and now my relationship with my daughter's not working. And the reality is that I hadn't consciously paid attention to what services I was providing for my clients. And so I was taking them through this process, but I wasn't listening to my own advice, and I wasn't doing my own programs. So my husband 3 years ago actually facilitated me through the programs that I had designed for my clients, and that's when my own personal life transformed, and that's what I want to offer you. So if you're stuck there, I want you to know that I absolutely won't judge you. It doesn't matter how horrible you think you're being or how awful it is. If you want change, I'll help you. If you want to carry on being nasty to somebody, then I'm not the right person. If you want to be angry with the other person, you think it's all the other person's fault, and you're not owning your own emotional reaction and owning your part in that communication, then I will be honest with you now, I'm not the right person. But if you have done things that you regret and you don't want to create that behavior, don't want that behavior to carry on, then I'm absolutely that right person, and I will do everything I can to create a safe speak environment where you can say how it really is in order to create the change that you want. So that's probably the first thing, is the feeling safe to say what you want. So getting clarity of what you want your relationship to be like. Then having confidence with the fact that you are going to both be different. It's almost like when we're trying to find love, whether it's that connection with our children or our connection with our loved ones, our partners, our life partners. It's like we're looking for similarities, and every time there's a difference, we become a bit sensitive, like that we're drifting apart, or there's something that's stopping us from being connected. So really getting confident about how you work, how you learn, and how you do you at your very best. If you were living at your very best, that would be like what? And then changing the way you respond to the reactions and behaviours of others. So step 3 is about, if you start going, if I was living my life just the way I'd like it to be, I would be on a boat across the ocean and I'd be sailing every day. And then I asked Mark then what he wants, and he says, I can't stand boats. My immediate reaction used to be, well, if he doesn't like boats and I want to be with him, I'll give up my boat and go with him. But actually what we discovered is a lot of that was metaphorical. It wasn't that I had to have a boat. There was something about that boat living environment that was really important to me. And once I get to the nitty-gritty of what that metaphor meant to me, and we got to the nitty-gritty of what his metaphor meant for him, we found the similarities. And there are times when we want things that are completely different, and we have learned to respect that we have certain time in our diary. And I had the courage to book a holiday without him. He's booked holidays without me, which is like, we were so determined to be this loving couple. It was almost like we were limpets and hanging on to each other. And actually that wasn't helpful for us either. And it doesn't matter what you're doing. If it works for you and you feel love and connected and it's being with each other absolutely works, that's fine. And if being separated more works for you, that's also fine. The question is it working for you? So if you're at that point where you know that you are being very sensitive to the responses of your partner or your children, and you are not reacting and responding in the calm, collected, loving way that you want to be, and you want to find out how to have confidence in your decisions, how to have confidence in yourself, and how to change the way you react and respond to others, then that's what our programs and workshops are all about. If you're not sure whether I'm the right person for you, then I just want to say to you, book a call, let's have a chat. I'm happy to listen to you about what's not working for you right now. And if I'll tell you about the programs and how they fit and how they work and what I've heard you say, and tell you whether they apply. And then you can decide what your next best step is. Now, if you have a look around the website, you're going to see the prices. And some of you might be going, ugh, how much? Well, I just want you to know that when I was at that breaking point with my daughter, when I was a mums and daughter relationship coach, I was putting myself out there to say to people, I can help you change your relationships. I'd worked with about 50, 60 mums at that point, and they'd all transformed their relationship. And I had a daughter who was self-harming. And I felt a complete failure. I tried ringing Parent Line. It didn't seem to matter who I spoke to. Nobody could help me undo this emotional response that I was having. I knew what I wanted was to give her unconditional love and love her and accept her the way she was. And yet every time I opened my mouth, I criticised her. Every time I opened my mouth, and my justification was, I'm trying to help. She's overweight, she's smoking, she's doing X, Y, and Z, it's not good for her. And so I would be trying to get her to do. And that's exactly what my mum did to me. And I didn't want to do that to her. And even though logically I knew it, I couldn't do it. And yet I was doing it for my clients, and I was in a complete thing. And at that point, I got Mark to facilitate me, my husband, who is a trained facilitator. He facilitated me through the program that I designed for our clients, and I got the answer. I managed to unbreak that conditioning, that autopilot response that I was having with her, and I was able to engage the unconditional love that I really wanted to have for her. I didn't want to judge her because she was overweight. I wanted to see right through her eyes into her soul, and I just wanted to love her. But because I'd never felt like that myself before, I didn't know how to do it. So I had to go back to imagining and guessing what it would be like, having a go with it. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, and got some updates. And quite frankly, I spent thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds on training to become a business communication facilitator. And I hadn't realised I could transfer it to my family life at all. And when I did, that's when the transformation came. And I have to say, I've had clients who've come to me to do the family stuff who've spent 30,000, they've gone abroad to find help, they've spent 60,000 on hypnotherapy and all sorts of stuff, and they've said to me that my stuff gets them quicker. So you've got two ways of doing this. If you're kind of like, it's just a little niggle at the moment and it's not a major problem, then you might want to do the smaller bite-sized chunks and do it over 2 or 3 years, just to make sure you're resourced and you're ready for that point. But if you're at that point where I was a few years ago, where you're breaking your heart and you need solutions and strategies and change quickly, then I will work with you intensely for 90 days. And for just $2,500, the cost of a family holiday, you will have the basic communication toolkit and resources that you need to correspond and communicate with people from a place of love. And if that's where you want to be, then let me know. And if, I want to help. I don't want you in pain. And I want to find the quickest, easiest way for you to achieve the outcome that you want. So get my diary, give me a call. Speak to you soon.